The eviction notice felt heavy in my hands as I stood in the doorway of my tiny apartment in the Anderson Arms, one of Chicago's most prestigious residential buildings. My parents, who managed the property, stood before me with matching expressions of disdain. "Emily," Mom sighed, adjusting her pearls, "we've been more than patient. This building has standards. We can't have a struggling artist bringing down property values." I glanced at my latest bank statement, showing a balance that would make them faint. If they only knew that Emily Chin, starving artist, was actually E.C. Chin, the anonymous force behind Revolution Gaming, the fastest-growing tech company in the world. "But I've never missed a payment," I protested, maintaining my carefully crafted persona. "I've been here for 2 years. And in those 2 years," Dad cut in, "you've been an embarrassment. Delivering food, drawing those computer pictures. This building houses CEOs, not delivery girls." If he only knew those computer pictures were the concept art for games that had generated $3.2 billion last year alone. Or that the food deliveries were my way of studying how people lived in the building I was about to buy. "We have someone suitable interested in the apartment," Mom added. "A young executive from Goldman Sachs. Someone with proper employment." My phone buzzed. "Sarah, my chief operations officer. Purchase agreement ready. Building transfers to Revolution Properties at midnight. Current management contract terminates automatically." "You have until the end of the month," Dad declared, handing me another document. "And we're keeping your security deposit for maintenance costs." I bit back a smile, thinking of the maintenance this building actually needed, upgrades I'd already planned with my architects. The Anderson Arms would soon become Revolution Tower, though my parents didn't know that yet. "Please," I made my voice shake slightly, "I don't have anywhere else to go." "Not our problem," Mom sniffed. "Perhaps if you'd chosen a real career instead of playing with computers." Another buzz from my phone. The final bank transfer was complete. The Anderson Arms now belonged to me, though the paperwork wouldn't show up until tomorrow. "We're doing you a favor," Dad added. "Time to grow up and join the real world." The real world, like the one where my computer pictures had just landed a $500 million contract with Disney? Or the one where Revolution Gaming's market cap had just passed $80 billion. "You have until tomorrow to start moving," Mom concluded. "We don't want your creative friends hanging around the lobby anymore." Those creative friends were my development team, worth millions in stock options. We'd been secretly documenting the building's numerous code violations during their visits. "I understand," I whispered, clutching the eviction notice. "Can I at least have a reference for my next apartment?" Dad actually laughed. "With your income, try the suburbs. Or better yet, move back to your parents' basement where you belong." They turned to leave, Mom's designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors I'd soon be replacing. Through my window, I could see their matching Mercedes parked in their reserved spots that would belong to someone else tomorrow. "Oh," Mom paused at the door, "we're having a building management meeting tomorrow morning. Try to be out before then. We don't want to explain your situation to the board." "Don't worry," I smiled softly, checking my phone as another confirmation came through. I wouldn't miss that meeting for the world. They left, probably heading to their luxury condo in the penthouse, the one that would soon be my new office. I waited until their footsteps faded before pulling out my laptop. "Sarah," I typed, "move up the announcement. I want the new ownership papers delivered first thing tomorrow morning, right before their precious management meeting." "Done," she replied. "Should I include the termination notices for the current management team?" "Absolutely. And Sarah, make sure they're delivered to my parents personally. I want to see their faces when they realize who their new landlord is." I stood by the window, watching the sunset reflect off the building's aging facade. Soon, those dated brass fixtures and tired marble floors would be transformed into something spectacular. But first, I had a management meeting to attend. My phone buzzed one last time, the bank confirming the transfer of $400 million for the building purchase. More than it was worth, but removing my parents from their precious position of power? Priceless. Tomorrow they'd learn that their struggling artist daughter had been playing a very different game all along. And I never lose at games. The next morning I dressed with particular care, exchanging my usual starving artist attire for what it really was. A hand-tailored Chanel suit that cost more than my parents' monthly salary. My cheap laptop bag was actually custom Hermes, and the simple smartwatch on my wrist could have bought their Mercedes. Delivery confirmed, Sarah texted. Your parents just received the ownership transfer documents. Security cameras show. Interesting reactions. I pulled up the building's surveillance feed on my phone, a system I'd already had quietly upgraded last month. Mom was pacing the management office, clutching papers and looking pale. Dad was frantically making phone calls, his face growing redder by the minute. The board members are arriving, Sarah updated. And, yes, your parents are trying to cancel the meeting. Too late, everyone's already in the conference room. I checked my reflection one last time. Gone was the messy bun and thrift store clothes I'd worn as a cover. Today I looked exactly like what I was. One of the wealthiest women in tech. Ms. Chen, my building's new head of security, radioed. The management meeting begins in 10 minutes. Your parents are attempting to block access to the conference room. Let them try, I smiled, heading for the elevator. Just make sure everyone's inside when I arrive. The elevator ride from my modest apartment to the penthouse level felt like ascending to a different world. Through the glass walls, I could see Chicago spreading out below my city, my empire, though few knew it yet. My phone buzzed continuously. Revolution Gaming stock up 3% pre-market. Disney collaboration announcement trending. Forbes requesting interview about building acquisition. Your parents trying to reach their lawyers. All lines busy. The elevator doors opened to chaos. Board members clustered in the hallway, whispering and showing each other documents. My parents stood by the conference room doors, looking like they'd seen ghosts. The meeting's cancelled, Dad announced desperately. Technical issue with the building sale. Actually, I stepped forward, my voice carrying clearly, the meeting will proceed as scheduled. Though the agenda has changed slightly. Mom's eyes widened as she took in my appearance. Emily, what are you? Why are you dressed? Like someone who can afford to buy this building? I finished for her, walking past them into the conference room. Funny story about that. The board members followed, many already putting the pieces together as they saw me take the chair at the head of the table, my father's chair. For those who haven't received the updated ownership documents, I began, nodding to Sarah as she distributed more copies. The Anderson Arms was purchased last night by Revolution Properties, a subsidiary of Revolution Gaming. Revolution Gaming? One board member gasped. The tech company worth $80 billion as of this morning, I confirmed. Though that's likely to increase after today's Disney announcement. Dad stood shakily. This is impossible. You're a delivery girl. An artist. I'm the founder and CEO of Revolution Gaming, I corrected him, pulling up the company's financials on the conference room screens. Those computer pictures you mocked? Concept art for games that earned $3 billion last year. Mom sank into a chair, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. But you could barely afford rent. I could afford to buy this building 10 times over, I smiled. The rent payments were just part of my market research. Along with those food deliveries you found so embarrassing. Excellent way to document the building's numerous code violations. The screens filled with photographs, water damage, outdated wiring, neglected repairs. All meticulously documented during my 2 years of struggling to pay rent. Which brings us to the first item on today's agenda, I continued, pulling out a stack of papers. The termination of the current management team, effective immediately. You can't fire us. Dad exploded. We've managed this building for 20 years. Managed it into decline, I corrected, displaying more data. Property values down 15% under your leadership. Maintenance backlogs. Discriminatory rental practices. I paused, looking directly at them. Like evicting qualified tenants based on perceived social status. The board members shifted uncomfortably, several avoiding my parents' eyes. Revolution Properties will begin a complete renovation next month, I announced. The Anderson Arms will become Revolution Tower, a state-of-the-art residential and tech hub. Our apartment, Mom whispered, the penthouse, will be converted into Revolution Gaming's Chicago offices, I confirmed. Don't worry, I've arranged temporary housing for all displaced residents. In fact, I smiled sweetly, There's a lovely available unit in my old building across town. Perfect for people who need to. What was it you said? Try the suburbs. My phone buzzed again, more press catching wind of the story. Outside the conference room windows I could see news vans arriving. This is revenge, Dad accused, finding his voice. Because we tried to evict you. This is business, I corrected him. You ran this building like your personal kingdom, using it to inflate your social status while ignoring necessary improvements. That ends today. I stood, smoothing my designer suit. The press conference is in an hour. You're welcome to stay and watch from the lobby, of course. Your access cards have already been deactivated. But we're your parents. Mom protested tearfully. Really? I raised an eyebrow. Because yesterday I was just an embarrassment you were evicting. Amazing how perspective changes when the power dynamic shifts. Sarah appeared at the door. Miss Chen, the architects are here with the renovation plans. Perfect timing, I smiled. Board members, shall we discuss the future of your investment? Those who choose to remain stockholders can expect significant returns once the renovations are complete. My parents stood frozen as their former colleagues eagerly gathered around the plans, already aligning themselves with the building's new owner. Oh, and Mom, Dad? I called as security arrived to escort them out. Don't worry about my security deposit. Consider it a down payment on your new apartment. I hear the suburbs are lovely this time of year. The press conference room, formerly my parents' prized penthouse living room, was packed with reporters. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, camera flashes sparkled like stars across the Chicago skyline. On every screen, the Revolution Gaming logo had replaced the Anderson Arms dated crest. Your parents are still in the lobby, Sarah reported, tablet in hand. Your father's tried calling every real estate lawyer in Chicago. They're all mysteriously unavailable. Amazing how quickly doors close when Revolution Gaming's legal team makes a few calls. I smiled, adjusting my mic pack. How's the stock doing? Up 12% since the Disney announcement. Social media is exploding with the reveal that E.C. Chin is actually Emily Chin, the poor artist who bought her parents' building. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Wall Street Journal. Gaming billionaires' real estate power move shocks Chicago. Forbes. Revolution Gaming CEO's secret identity revealed. CNBC requesting exclusive interview. Mom, Emily, please, we need to talk. Dad, this is cruel and unnecessary. I blocked my parents' numbers. They'd have plenty of time to reflect on cruelty during their apartment hunt. Miss Chen, a security officer, called. Your brother's trying to enter the building. Says he's family. Ah yes, golden child Michael, the successful investment banker who'd laughed the loudest at my career choices. Through the security feed, I watched him argue with the guards, waving his old visitor's pass uselessly. Let him up, I decided. He should see this too. Minutes later, Michael burst into the conference room, his designer suit wrinkled from rushing over from his precious Wall Street firm. Emily, what the hell? He demanded. Mom's crying, Dad's having a meltdown. Sounds like a typical Tuesday, I replied coolly. Usually they're making someone else cry. Like yesterday when they were evicting their embarrassment of a daughter. But this. He gestured at the transformed penthouse. This is extreme. Buying the whole building. Throwing them out of their home. Extreme. I pulled up security footage from yesterday on the screens. Like telling a tenant to move back to their parents' basement where they belong? Or keeping security deposits out of spite. The screens showed it all, every condescending comment, every sneering dismissal, every moment of their precious power trip. They were doing their jobs, Michael protested weakly. No, they were enforcing their social hierarchy, I corrected him. And now they're learning what real hierarchy looks like. My phone buzzed again, Sarah sending an update. Moving trucks arrived at the penthouse. Renovation crew ready to start demolition. Through the windows I could see my parents still in the plaza below, watching their former home prepare for transformation. Mom clutching her Hermes bag like a shield, Dad's face purple with impotent rage. The press conference starts in 5 minutes, I told Michael. You're welcome to stay. I'm about to announce Revolution Gaming's complete renovation plans for the building. Including. I smiled. The conversion of the management office into a community gaming center. Free access for local kids interested in tech. You're destroying their legacy, he snapped. Their legacy? I laughed. Their legacy was discrimination dressed up as standards. Their legacy was using this building to make themselves feel important while ignoring its actual needs. The screens filled with more data, the building's financials under their management, the documented violations, the pattern of selective tenant approval. Revolution Tower will be different, I continued. Merit-based housing. State-of-the-art facilities. A place where success is earned, not inherited. And what about family? Michael demanded. You're making them homeless. Family. I turned to him slowly. Like when you told your firm not to consider my gaming company for investment because it was just your little sister playing with computers. That kind of family. He flushed, remembering. His firm had passed on early investment in Revolution Gaming shares that would have been worth billions now. The press is ready, Sarah announced from the door. Perfect. I smoothed my suit. Time to introduce Chicago to the real Emily Chen. The next hour was a blur of cameras, questions, and revelations. I unveiled Revolution Tower's future. The technological innovations, the community programs, the complete transformation of what my parents had treated as their personal kingdom. Through it all, I could see my family watching, Mom and Dad from the plaza below, Michael from the back of the room, all of them finally seeing me clearly for the first time. By sunset it was done. Revolution Gaming's stock had soared. Chicago's tech scene had a new center. And my family, well, they had some apartment hunting to do. Sarah, I called as the press dispersed, have security escort my brother out. And send my parents the listing for that suburban apartment. I hear it's perfect for people who need to reassess their standards. I watched them leave, defeated, humbled, finally understanding what real power looked like. Above the city, the Revolution Gaming logo glowed where the Anderson Arms crest had once hung, not just a company sign, but a reminder that success doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes it looks like the daughter they underestimated. Sometimes it looks like the tenant they tried to evict. And sometimes, if you wait long enough, it looks like sweet, perfectly executed revenge. Miss Chen, Sarah called, the architects need your approval for the renovation plans. I smiled, turning away from the window. Time to build something new from the ruins of their arrogance. After all, the best revenge isn't just success. It's success they have to watch from the suburbs.